Hi, I'm Kendall Fire, and we are in the series about God's heart for worship. I'm teaching through the Hebrew words having to do with praise to show God's heart being multi-layered, multi-dimensional, and there being different creative elements to the expression of praise that He created us to bring for Him. So today we're looking at the word Taqa. That's Taqa, and it means to clatter. Now you can see this in a bunch of different ways. To clatter through slapping the hands together, clapping, right? We see a lot of clapping in churches, but I don't think there's a lot of teaching as to why we're clapping. What are we clapping for? What does it mean? What is the significance to God's heart? We have here Taqa meaning to clang an instrument, to drive a nail into a tent or a dart, sort of a thing. To become bondsmen by hand clasping, blow a trumpet, to cast, clap, pitch, sound something, an instrument, strike, thrust. So really, really neat that we're going to be doing this motion with our hands. So again, we have another form of biblical praise, another form of biblical expression that has a physical component to it. And so that's why I created these videos, is to show some of the variety and the dimension that should be taking place, that we should be seeing in the modern North American church. Now, if you go over to Africa or South America even, you'll see more of these forms of diversity and expression. And so my heart, and I believe God's heart, is that we would begin to stir up a renewal, a revival, a restoration of this biblical praise, the praise that God's people did in the Bible. And I'm going to take you to a verse today. And so God's people did do this. And then, of course, the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, Satan obviously wanted to inhibit this worship and keep his people captive and limited. And he didn't want God to be able to express himself or display himself through his creations. Well, God's an artist. He's a creative God. And so for us to be dampered and held back, it'd be like if you were a painter and you did this work of art and the studio that it was hanging in didn't have any light. There wasn't proper lighting, and so it was sort of a dim reflection of what you'd intended, but you couldn't really see it, at least not in the way that the artist had intended for it to be shown, for it to shine, for it to bring glory to the creator. And so God's that way too. All right, well, let me take you here to Psalm 47, and we have the verse, shout aloud to God with the voice of shouting, clap the hand, clap your hands, all you peoples. All the peoples, clap the hand. And that word clap there is actually the word taqa. And so all you people, slap your hands together, make a clatter, thrust those hands together, make a clatter, make a commotion, and that is a good thing. And then the next part of it, of course, it just mentioned shouting aloud to God, and in these teaching videos, I'll show you that there's ruah and there's runah, and there's all these different forms of shouting. It's not even just shouting; it's like one variety of that. There's multiple different words, even for shouting. One is a really high-pitched creaking noise. Another one is, we're declaring truths. We're expressing testimonies of God. So they all have unique sounds. They all have individualized purposes. They all have effects in the community and to our relationship with God and God himself. So there's just all these different varieties and all these layers. And so when I go to, the modern North American church and I see everybody just standing there singing, just singing. Of course, they're worshiping too. I'm not judging their hearts, but I am saying, wow, let's get illuminated. Let's get in the Word and let's begin to understand all that we can offer to God during praise, all that we can participate in, and the understanding that it's not wrong to shout in church. We're not. This is bigger than it being a distraction. We are called to these different forms of expression as a church, as a body of God. And so we need to be seeing these various forms of expression. And so here we have the people clapping the hands and even shouting aloud to God. And so this word clatter. Now when I think clatter, some of you might be the same. I kind of could see the word chaos. Well, we don't want to make a commotion, but that's what we've been taught in the church. We've been taught, keep it quiet, keep it calm, keep it still, keep it all these things, keep it contained, keep it controlled, even keep our comfort zones intact and our secure, yada yada yada. We think we're doing the right thing. We're not. The intentions are good; they're to protect people and all that. But what we're protecting them from is actually, well, the reflection of God's glory and the calling that He has on His people to come, to follow Him, to worship, to shout, to jump, dance, reflect the spectrum of His glory, His goodness. And so, yes, there's going to be a commotion because God is a big God. There's going to be some thunder and some lightning and some zest. And God says to us that it's okay to shine because you reflect my shining. It's okay to shout out, to be proud of. Do not hide your light under a bushel. No. Instead, let it so shine before men that they may see your good work, creative, artistic works, your work of worship and praise to me, and they may glorify too my Father who is in heaven. So it all comes back to more praise for God, more glory to God, to lift up God high. All right, well, that was the word Taqa. Thank you for listening.